Okay, this is the last one in the harmony series that I know of right now. What I want to talk about on this number 5 of the series is how we can add other notes to a triad. We've said that, a basic chord is 3 notes, 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. And that you can add other notes to that. And sometimes it's a matter of trend. Right now the 2 chords were trending. And there's other chords that become familiar to us and have a good feeling, and suddenly we all like those chords. I fell in love with the C2 to the F chords. That progression of C2 to F was just really nice. And so the 2 chord is common. What that means is that you take a regular, we'll stick with C, a C triad, C, E, G. And instead of playing the E, you play a D. Now that creates tension. I like to say that when you're improvising, there are no wrong notes. There are notes that create tension. It's like, oh. But the release of that tension, when you resolve it, is so beautiful that people say, oh, that was lovely. When really it was like just dissonant. Dissonance can be your friend because it creates tension, which you can then release, which is a way of enjoying the ebbs and flows of music. So you can add a 2 chord. You can add 2 to a chord. The second note in the scale you add to the first triad, and it's a C2. You can do that with any of them. You can go a D minor, D, F, A, and add the E. Most of the time when you add something, you take away something that was there to begin with. So if I go D, F, A, and I'm going to add an E, then I would have D, E, F. Those 3 together sound like this. Now there's some tension for you. Yeah. So you're probably going to leave out either, probably not the D because that's the base of that triad. You'd probably leave out the F. And I'll give you some examples of this. So that's a 2 chord. You can also add a 6. That's pretty popular today. And the old standard is adding a 7, because when you put the 7th note into a triad, 1, 3, 5, 7, ooh, it's pushy. It's pushy. It makes you want to go back to 1. It just does that. I'll give you an example. I'm going to put the camera on the piano now, and again, I'm a violinist, not a pianist, okay? So just, don't expect too much. All right. So let's just hear the basic combination of 1, 4, 5, 1. That's the one that's not much spice, okay? Back to 1, 5, and that's actually a 5, 7. Now, do you see what I mean about a 7 chord? You can't just end there. That's got to be... resolve that back to 1. So a 5, 7 will push you to 1. Okay, so if that's all we had, we could sing a million songs, but they wouldn't be nearly as interesting as if we could add some special things to it. So let's try the 2 chord. I like to do the 2 chord this way. I go in C. Again, I'm on a C major chord. I'm going to leave out the 3 and go 1 to 5, 2, and then resolve it to the 3. Did you hear the tension? There's the, how it should be. Here's the 2. Yeah. With a 7 added. Okay, so that's That's what a 2 can do. Creates tension that you can resolve. Okay? Let's do a 6. Again, I'm going to say this is the 1, 3, 5. The 6 is going to be right next to the 5. Sounds like chopstick. Okay, well, that's not what we want. No, don't chopsticks. So I'm going to play the 1 and the 3 and the 6. Now again, we could go down in this octave, the 1 and the 5, and do the 6 up here. Here's your good old 5, 7. Mel really wants to go back to the 1. Okay, so there's a 6. Now before I start talking about adding a 7th note, or the 7th, to a triad, let me explain that generally speaking, the most common 7th chord is the one built on the 5th pitch of the scale. If you start on C and go up 5, you get to G. And it's very common to have a 5-7 chord. You've heard me talk about it in previous videos, about it being pushy. It demands that you go back to the tonic or to the 1 chord. So as I'm explaining about adding the 7th, I'm specifically relating it to a 5-7 chord. Now you can have a 5-7 chord in every key. Remember that. I'm using C major as the example just because it's simple. Okay, here we go. Now the 5-7 that I've been talking about. You start on the 5th note of the scale. So in the key of C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's G. So I'm going to do a G triad, which is the dominant triad. It means it's really important. It's the papa. Maybe the tonic's the papa. Maybe this is the mama. I don't know. Anyway, so it's a big one. And when you add the 7 to it, ooh, that felt good, didn't it? That note just pushes you somewhere. I call it pushy. There's the resolution. Okay? So there are some examples of how you can add other notes to a chord to make it more interesting. And like I said, all of these are kind of rules. We used to learn rules about music in theory class. Not anymore. Now I see that the rules were just there so we could break them. Because there's so much that... so many interesting sounds that you can pull out of the keyboard or out of your guitar. And sometimes I really would have to stop and very carefully analyze what notes I'm playing and what chord they would fit into to know what I'm playing. It just sounds good, so do it. Okay? All right. I think that is the end of the harmony section. Check back, because we may find some other things. I'd like to do something on progressions, because some chords naturally lead to other specific chords, and knowing some progressions is very helpful. The one thing I learned, and I watched a YouTube, is that you can just go... Add the 7 there, so I've got to go back to 1. In other words, I just progressed up in triads up the scale. It worked. Sometimes it's just what you need. Okay, so happy harmonizing.